So today we're going to talk about what does property in the Philippines cost. So actually property does vary quite substantially. So it varies between anywhere. I mean, you can buy a very cheap property in the province and that might not be something for you if you're an expat wanting to have a nice expat lifestyle and live like a king. It might not be for you, but you know, you can get something really cheap in the provinces for only say 500,000 or 600,000 peso. But realistically, most property does range from about 1 to 100 million peso, okay, depending on if it's a small little townhouse like this or it's a luxury development, some kind of place like Anvia Cove, developed by Ayala, okay? So that's something you need to consider. It depends also where you're buying, the location. And to give you some form of idea of what property costs here in the Philippines, in particular here in Subic Bay, today I'm going to drive around and tell you what I think certain properties should cost. Now I'm going to assume most of the properties are leasehold here, because they are, and what I'm going to say is that, you know, we're going to make an assumption that most properties have about 40 to 50 years left on a leasehold, and I'm going to show you what it should cost, and I'm going to tell you what I think it should cost based on a 40 to 50 year lease. So come with me, let's have a look, and I'm going to give you a good idea. Alright, so let's just look at this little bungalow home. So this is like a little bungalow duplex home. Something like this here in Subic Bay, in a village like Binigtikan, Arianne, something like that. What I would say is something like this with about 40 to 50 years left on the lease should cost around about 4 million plus peso, depending on, you know, what's the exterior like, what kind of condition is this like. Here you might pay as much as 5+ million for something like this, because it does look like it's actually in good condition, and it is also a corner allotment. Okay, so this property here is a fourplex. So you can see here's one carport, there's a second, a third, and a fourth. Okay, so this is really like 4 properties, 4 townhouses if you would. So I would call this like a fourplex. Again, stuff like this that's about, you know, 2-story would start from around about 4 to 5 million peso these days, depending on the condition and the amount of years left on the leasehold. Just remember, this is just a guide, a bit of a price guide of what I think property should be selling for in the local area. Properties can go for more or less, depending on what you negotiate and what you're able to negotiate prices down to. Here's another example of a duplex bungalow here in Binigtikan, and again, you know, something like this, one side of the property I think should start from around about 4 to 5 million peso, depending on the location and condition. Here is a duplex townhouse. Now, this has got A and B, and these properties do vary, but I've seen properties like this in the last 2 years sell anywhere between 3 and 5 million peso. Okay, this is a bit interesting, this property, because it looks like it has, well, it is different than most, okay? It looks like it actually has a lot of little rooms and that they're actually like apartments. So what I found is apartments sell for around about from 2 million plus here in Subic Bay. Again, it does depend, and that price could actually vary and be more. So this actually looks like an old spider home that they've developed. On the left hand side they have one side that's already developed here, and the other side, okay, is still under construction. Before they're renovated, sell anywhere between 6 and 8 million peso for a duplex villa for one side. Okay, so the bigger size properties are these ones, which are called spider homes. So you can see they're called spider homes because they're actually on legs that look like spiders. That's actually two properties, A and B, both sides, and they are very sizable. So actually spider homes like this and like this one, this is probably a better example here to the right hand side, are very hard to come by. That's the first thing that I would say. They are hard to come by. Nowadays, when they come up for sale, people are asking for a premium. When I first came to Subic Bay, they were selling for 6 to 8. Now, you're looking at probably 8 to 10 for one side. Just one side. 8 to 10 million peso for one side. Now, it can be more than that depending on the condition and again the leasehold, but usually you're looking at a very, very minimum of around about 8 million peso for something that is actually a renovator and needs work. Now, there's properties like this one here, and these properties might already be renovated inside and out, and those they'll be asking a considerable amount more. And remember, that's only one side of the property. So, for example, if there were two sides, A and B, at the end of the day, unrenovated, the minimum you'd probably get one for is 15 to 16 million for both sides. That would be the absolute minimum, but it's not unheard of for both sides to sell for as much as 20 million plus nowadays here in Subic Bay. Here's another example, and it's a bit odd. How it works in the villages here is the different properties are kind of clustered together. So you'll see a lot of spider homes are clustered together, a lot of townhouses are clustered together. There's a good mix in different pockets. So different pockets and areas of the villages like Arianne and Benektiken do cost more or less. So it is a little bit complicated when you're trying to price property here, especially when you get properties like this that are already renovated. Here we go, it's another spider home. We're on Benektiken Drive now. Yeah, on Benektiken Drive now, and trying to show you a few more properties. So yeah, my two favorite types of houses are these ones, which are the spider homes. Apart from the spider homes, you can also find what's called duplex villas, and I will show you that next. Here's a beautiful example of a spider home that's been recently renovated. That's a gorgeous double-sided A and B spider home. So the thing is, you get these conversions of spider houses like this, and these are really the most expensive, in the villages. They're really no longer spider houses. They're kind of like big giant mansions, for big families. So yeah, these are really, really cool, but obviously by far the most expensive, and properties like these cost, you know, upwards of like 30 million plus peso, especially when they're in a position like this. So behind this little garden, you can see in the background, this is actually on a point. A little bit hard to see, but a lot of the properties here do feature water views and views of Subic Bay. So this one at the end of the cul-de-sac behind us, it does have kind of like a jungle cliff behind it and panoramic views around the bay. Okay, here's another example of a spider home, two sides, that have been converted into a mega villa or mansion. Fit for a king. Here's another mega mansion. It's absolutely huge. It's got like 4 levels. So you can see the mega mansions, and these obviously cost the most money in the villages. Again, from probably around minimum 25 to 30 million. Some might go as high as 40 million peso. This is a gorgeous mansion, a huge classical style mansion at the end of the street. So probably one of the most expensive houses in the village. Very beautiful property, look at that. This is an example of a duplex villa. So again, it's 2 sides. It actually looks like this one has been amalgamated, but this is a good example of a duplex villa. This duplex villa looks like it is still 2 sides. You can tell because it's got 2 different paint jobs. One's white and the other one's yellow. So properties like this sell from around about 6 to 8 million peso as a minimum. So again, like I said earlier today, you know, my favorite are the duplex villas. We own something similar to this one, which is again a duplex villa, and then the spider homes. And then if you want to go up another level again, if you get 2 spider homes and combine it as one, that's a mansion. Here's another example of a mansion. So they've amalgamated it and customized the house to be one giant mansion. Look at that. That is awesome. Another mansion, McMansion. Another really good example of a duplex villa here. So this is 2 sides, and again to the right hand side, these are 2 duplex villas. So side A and side B. You can tell because actually they have separate driveways. So you can see there it says A, and the second one here is B. So again, something like this should cost around about 6 to 8 million peso.